First day at work, we had to go to a training centre. Our training centre was out at Bywaters, which was about 15 miles away from Charlton Pit. And I had to catch 2 buses to get there. Once we got there, there were about a bunch of about 15 of us, all new recruits, all around about the same age, all about 15, 16 years of age. One of the first things they did is that they actually gave us a pair of overalls, they gave us a pair of pit boots, a helmet and a glove. They also gave us a spade and told us to go and dig the garden. That's where they put me with somebody I'd never ever met before, and that person turned out to be a mate for life. I think looking back at it, it's my first day of work and it was quite apprehensive. We didn't know really what to expect, although we knew that it weren't going to be school. We knew that we were going to get paid for going there. But it was quite intimidating because I went to somewhere where I'd never been to before. I didn't really know where I was going. I didn't know who I was meeting with. It was a little bit intimidating, although in some respect it was very exciting because this was going to be a new leg of my life. I'd spent 15 years as a kid basically, and now I'm going to spend the next, as I looked at it, 50 years into going into work.
On my first day at work, wanted to pick, we've been an apprentice, it was in a workshop, but my first memory of being at a pit, you're looking round like a lost lad in a big city. Everything looks big and men were, you know, they looked after you. They really looked after you. I worked with a fitter that it fetched me a sandwich. It really looked after us, and especially where safety was concerned. They wouldn't let you do it until they thought you could do it. Yeah, so it was a brilliant place to work with brilliant men. My first day up in, I can't actually remember, I'm just, of course it had been on surface because we weren't, I was tall enough to go underground. And so we'd been steam boilers or working on a loco until we were old enough to do as underground training. When we went to Barnsley Main to do us underground training, there were still pit ponies. There were still actually pit ponies underground at Barnsley Main when I did my underground training, which had been 1963. And it was exciting. You know what I mean? It really got that an exciting feeling. You couldn't wait to get up to go to work. And at Barnsley Main, you were working in baths. Them baths at Barnsley Main, you were pumped. You had to put your clothes on this iron rack, and then you had to pull them up into the roof, fasten them up. Of course, we used to wrap a towel around us. We used to be really shy, but you couldn't come out. It didn't bother us again then. Yeah, first day was, it was a challenge. It was challenging. It was all new to us, but we all got used to it and got into the swing.
Well, the first day at work, when I first went, it was trepidation. You didn't know what you were going to experience. I don't know if I expected to go underground on my first day, but I didn't do. In effect, it was you did 20 days underground training before you went underground. But I did go underground before that. At Goldthorpe, we got a training officer what took us underground just as a visit to a bit of cleaning up with him, pick a bit of paper up and things like that. And it were different, definitely different. And then when I went down a deep mine on my underground training, I didn't know, thought I'd let myself into something really bad. But it were in no time, you got used to it. And to be fair, I'd got friends and family who'd all worked there, so I was quite pre-warned. Still come as a bit of a shock. By then, as I say, when I'd started, or when I was coming up to starting, I really had made my mind up that's what I was going to do, and it were okay. Yeah, I knew people. You knew everybody anyway from village. You know, you recognise a lot of people. I'd got uncles that worked there. I mean, all my uncles had worked at Goldthorpe apart from a couple before they went to other pits. So I was well known, family were well known. So yeah, really I was treated quite well.